Hi everyone, Gemma Fisher here from Daybreak Dogs in North Somerset. Hope you're all well and enjoying your Friday. Not long to go until the weekend, so hope you're all looking forward to a fun weekend coming up. I've got some fun stuff coming up actually. We have agility classes restarting this Saturday, and I love seeing my regular agility classes, so it'd be nice to catch up with those people, find out how their Christmas went. But also this weekend I am running the first of a series of workshops called Sports Star Foundation, inspired by Toddy, my young man who is now 4 months old. 16 weeks, 4 months old, coming up 17 weeks tomorrow. And we're going to be delving into all the things that we need to do to prepare our puppies for a life in whatever sport. I mean, we're obviously thinking about agility, but these are all going to be good skills for dogs that are going to have busy and enriching lives in agility, flyball, etc, etc. So yeah, looking forward to that. And then some fun on Sunday as well, because my dogs get to play. Vodka and Jade have got a workshop booked with the lovely Dan Shaw, so thanks Ali Naylor for organising that. I'm looking forward to seeing Dan on Sunday, so that should be lots of fun. Anyway, to today's Friday Fisher Fix. It's been, I've had a month off over Christmas because obviously the festive period, as you can imagine, with 2 small boys, it can take it out of you. So yeah, had a small break and hope you all had a good Christmas and Happy New Year to you all. Today's Friday Fisher Fix was a question posed to me by actually a good friend of mine, Dan Shipton. He put it to me that he has a lovely French bulldog named Reggie, and I've met Reggie. He's one of my favourite nephews, and I think he's a cracking dog. But one of the things that both Dan and Ross, his husband, literally they just got married, it's very exciting. So Dan's husband Ross, and their dog walker as well, because they have a dog walker. One of the things they're struggling with at the moment is that Reggie is taking off after joggers when he's out and about in the park. And Reggie, I think, if I'm right in thinking, Dan, if you're on, then do let me know, but I think Reggie must be coming up for maybe 18 months, maybe not quite that old, but around that age. And actually, when I posted on Tuesday, when I came back to work, there were a couple of people that put comments which was similar or got in touch with similar issues when they're out and about walking. So this Friday Fisher Fix is kind of all about going out and walking your dog and being able to go out and about and walk your dog and enjoy doing so as well. And I thought today would be, I've just literally finished a walk with my dogs. I'm up at Western Woods at the moment. You can probably hear the rain coming down. We managed to avoid getting too wet, but the rain is starting to come down now. And one of the things that I was thinking about as I was walking, we have a little foster collie dog called Tess with us, and she came out and about with my dogs and obviously young Toddy as well. And it struck me that as I was walking around, that there are things that my dogs know, and like a communication system, if you like, that we have set up, which means that I can just enjoy going out for a walk with them, that I don't really have to think about it, that I can just get to go out and enjoy a walk. If we bump into someone, I can stop and say hi and have a chat if I want to. Just like the things that perhaps you would look to want to do when you're out walking, that bumping into, for example, we bumped into other dogs, we bumped into a horse rider, those sorts of things that you might just on a walk around, you might bump into these things, and you just don't want to be stressed out about them because you just want to be able to get on with your walk, don't you? So here's my list of things that my dogs know that mean that I can have a nice stress-free walk. Now, I can't go into too much depth about the training of it, but I promise in the coming weeks in January, I will go into a bit more depth on each of these. As I was walking around, I was kind of thinking, yeah, these are the things that make life easier when I'm walking my dogs. So, first one is possibly really obvious, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. All of my dogs know their names. All right. Now, we have a little game that we call the name response game. It features in our puppy course, and it's literally the first lesson that we teach our puppies when we've introduced them to a clicker. And it's, for me, is the very first thing that they need to know, that when they hear their name, they need to be able to whip their head round and look at me. If I'm turning in the opposite direction, they need to follow me. But the really key thing is they hear their name and they're like, you know what, boom, I understand, I have to look at mum. Now, as I say, that struck me because I'm out with little Tess, our foster collie at the moment, and she hasn't quite got that. She doesn't really know, I say it's maybe not even that she doesn't really know her name, but obviously from person to person, me saying Tess in a a light girly tone is quite different from say I don't know, Martin, for example, who's quite a big man and quite gruff. So that's just one thing, that the dogs need to know what their name is. So we have a really quick, easy game, which I'll share with you in the coming weeks, about how to do that. So knowing their name, first off. Second off, they need to, one thing that people I think sometimes get wrong with their recall is they use their recall word, which for me and my dogs is come here, and come here means come close enough that I can take hold of your collar. Okay. Now, when I'm out and about walking, I probably, I'm not even sure. I used them today a couple of times because I was rewarding Tess for coming back in. So because I had some good rewards on me, I called Vodka in a couple of times. I certainly called Toddy in a lot when we're out walking. So I probably use those words quite a lot with young dogs when I'm training them. But I don't know, I called Ella in once as on a come here, or Jade, or Mac, who's with me, because there's just no need. And the reason why is because of these words. This way, okay? So it's just a little phrase, and it's this way, and this way means I'm headed in a different direction. Or there's something I'm coming up the path, like the horse rider. I thought, you know what? She doesn't need to bump into me and all my dogs. So we just did it this way, and this way means reorientate towards me, and we're headed off in this direction. So it's basically check in with me, and if I'm turning the other way, then that's the new direction that we're heading in. So those words actually mean that I don't necessarily need my dog to have a full recall in terms of being able to hold on to their collar, because in actual fact, if I can get them to change direction, so I'm in the woods and I'm going down a different path, then I can avoid certain things that might prove triggers for them in terms of maybe reactivity, and it means I can have a nice stress-free walk. All right, so I don't need to panic. So the words this way, they're a really key thing in my toolbox. Hi Lorna, hello. Sorry, just seeing my friend Lorna's joined. In fact, I have Lorna to thank for my yummy treats this morning. Lorna, you gave me 4 bags of liver treats last night. Well, I think I have maybe a third of a bag left. So they went down really well this morning, so thank you. Okay, so those are my first 2. Dog needs to know their name, needs to understand the words this way, and I say I will in the coming weeks talk about exactly how I go about teaching that. The third thing is the recall. They do need to know what their recall word means, but as I think I explained in talking about the this way cue, you don't need to use it as much as you think you do. All right, you do need to be able to get hold of your dog, but I think for me, I want to be reasonable. I've brought them out so that they can have a really nice big run in the woods, and provided they're not bothering anybody else and they're not causing a nuisance and they're not being a pain, then you know what, I don't want to interrupt that too much, because for me, this is their downtime. This is their opportunity to go and burn off some energy, have a good run, and they've all got back into the van very nice and happy and tired. So one thing I would say is that my words come here, which is their recall cue, and their recall cue is very, very definite. It's come close enough that I can take hold of your collar. They don't need to hear that all the way around a walk. All right, I don't want to be a nag. If I need to get hold of them to put them on the lead at the end of the walk, then yes, certainly I will use it there. And if I had a dog who was a bit like, you know what, I know this walk really well, and I know when the lead's going to go back on and I don't like it, then I'd probably do it more with a dog like that. But for my dogs, they go out walking in different locations, and obviously they know where the walk is going to end, but truthfully, we go for such a nice big walk. I'd be really surprised if they turned around to me at the end of it and said, do you know what, we haven't had a long enough walk. So don't overuse your recall cue. Use it when you really, really need to, and when you really need to have that dog come into you. But the words this way and turning them in different directions when you're out and about in a walk, I think probably you could use those more regularly, and you'd find that those would be really helpful on your walks. Okay, so That's how many am I on? Is anybody counting? I think we're on 3 now. So we've got our name response, so being able to know their name really, really well. We've got the this way cue and their recall cue. And one other one that I think, do you know what? If you've got a great recall, this is probably optional. So if you saw somebody coming up the path and they looked a bit worried, and you were like, you know what, I don't want my dog to go and bother them. If you had an A-star recall, then you might not need this one. But for me, one of the things that I really like to do when I'm out and about with my dogs is, as I say, don't always need to get hold of them. But I like them to have a control position that they can drop into wherever they are in, round and about on our walk. And that for me is just asking the dogs to lie down. So my control position for my collies, because it's really easy to teach a collie, is just to ask them to lie down. So if, for example, you bumped into us in the woods and your dog was a bit like, ooh, I love Auntie Gemma, but yikes, she's got maybe 3 or 4 of her dogs with her. All I would do is I would ask them all to lie down where they are. So what would happen is you'd be able to walk down the path unencumbered by my dogs bothering yours, and they just go from running around to just being still. So that's, for me, I love being able to do that, because it means that I can keep my dog safe. If I think that maybe another dog doesn't look very happy, I can keep them safe. It means I don't have to worry about bothering you or your dogs when I bump into you. Because here's the thing, I'm a dog trainer. I love dogs. I don't want to cause another dog stress or worry. So being able to, go out and about with my multiples of dogs, I need to have that control over them, that I can ask them just to stop where they are. And I guess that might be a reason. If I was going, maybe you wouldn't need it quite so much if you just had a solo dog that you were out walking. But I think for multiple dogs, we either need to know that they will come back really, really well, or that they can stop in a control position, so that we can make other people feel safe when they bump into us when we're out and about on a walk. So there's another one. The other one, from being able to do that control position, that they need to know, and anybody who has been taught by me will know that I think this one's really important, is having some sort of word that means now you have permission to move off again. So it's what I call a release word. So if my dogs are in a down, they're not allowed to move again until they hear their release word, which, if we're out and about in the woods, it's just okay, and then off they can go on their merry way again. So for me, you can't have a control position without the release word. So you need to be able to teach those 2 things. And as I say, throughout January, we'll have a look at maybe teaching those things. So I think that for me would be, that would probably cover, if you had those skills with you and your dog out on a walk, that would probably cover most of the things that I've been asked about this week. So jumping up at people, running off to other dogs, running off after joggers, after cyclists, that sort of a thing. If you have those things in place, as I did this morning with Tess, I worked really hard this morning helping her with understanding a this way cue, and also just her name, so that she knew that when I said her name I was talking to her, and having really, really great treats to do that as well. Having those things in place means that you can go out and about and you can have a really nice time with your dog, and they can have a really nice time too, which I think is really equally important. Yes, I do go out for training walks with my young dogs. Toddy certainly is going out for individual walks where he goes out and we are practicing things like recall. But dogs do need to be allowed to be dogs. And as I think I've said in previous videos, in order for me to get my training in, first off, I have to be fair to my dog. I need to make sure that they've had good nutrition, so they're not hungry. Because anybody who knows me, if I'm hungry, I am not in a good place to do anything. So you need to feed me before we can do anything else. But second off, the dogs need to have had some exercise, and that's good quality exercise. So like, as I say, me coming up to Western Woods this morning, the dogs have run out over different surfaces. For one alarming moment, there was a log in the path, and I watched my Ella, Jade, Vodka, Mac and Tess, in fact, all very gracefully leap over this log. Toddy, not so much. We have some work on that to do. He had a lot of spirit, bless him. He gave it a good go. But yes, he's not quite ready for big logs in the wood yet. But yeah, dogs need to be allowed to be dogs. They need to be able to run and burn off some of that energy. Because the third piece of my my puzzle is the training piece, and I think it's unreasonable to try and get loads of training in if I haven't given them the first two. I think it's really important to get those things in first. So I appreciate if you haven't got a great recall and you haven't got all of those things that I've just talked about, getting them some really good quality exercise and being able to allow them off lead exercise is not going to be easy. I do get that, and we'll certainly look into different solutions. There's fields popping up all over the place. There's one in Cheddar close to us that's just, I think, opened. So secure fields where you can go and allow them to have a really good run and burn off some energy. And again, going back to appropriate exercise as well. So thinking about how can I mentally stimulate my dog so I can, you imagine they have a bucket at the beginning of each day of energy. I think of this with all of my border collies, that they start the day with a full bucket of energy. And what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to gradually drain that off throughout the day. And that takes place through training games and just spending, 2 or 3 minutes doing some training. But it means going out for a walk and allowing them to run and be dogs, which is a huge part of that as well. So, right. So I've given you 5 things that I will, as I say, go into in a bit more depth in the coming weeks. You've got your name response game, so making sure that the dogs are really, really good at understanding their name. So when they hear their name, they just turn and look at you. It's not necessarily the same as your recall cue. I would probably expect my dogs to come back to me if I didn't say anything else to them, but that first thing is know your name. Okay. Second thing is I should have written these down, shouldn't I? I can remember my second thing, this way. Okay, so the this way cue is really just teaching our dogs that when they hear that they should turn in the direction that we are turning. All right, and you could come up with a different phrase. I use the words this way, but whatever makes sense to you is fine. The third thing is your recall cue, and that is a difficult one to really proof and to really get good. I found actually, here's my confession of the day, I let Toddy out of the van first, and we were just in the car park, and a car came into the car park, and I went to ask him to come back, and he went, no, I'm waiting for my sisters to come out of the van so I can go running. So yeah, so even dog trainers, work in progress. So my little monkey is in training. So it is a difficult one to teach. I'm not knocking that, but making sure that you're just using that recall cue when you really need it, and not being a nag when you're out and about walking. The fourth thing was being able to stop the dogs in some sort of control position. As I say, for my collie dogs, nice and easy to teach them to lie down at a distance. Your dog might prefer to sit, and to be honest, it doesn't really matter what position it is. It's just that ability to be able to stop them when you're out and about walking. Gives lots of confidence to other owners. Certainly, I feel very proud that I get given lots of compliments about being able to do that. But really, for me, it's a practical, necessary measure. If I'm going to walk multiple dogs, I don't want to be a nuisance to you and your dog when you are walking down the path towards me. So having some sort of control position, I think, is essential. And then the fifth thing, the two things go hand in hand. If you have a control position, you need a release word, which means, okay, permission to move off when we're done. So those are my 5 things, and we'll go into depth in the coming weeks about how I go about training those. But yeah, some food for thought to get you thinking about it. If you have any questions or further thoughts that you want to add in the comments below, please do so, because quite a lot of the conversation often happens after we've come off live, because obviously not everybody can make us for the live broadcast. And if you are on the Facebook page, then do sign up to the newsletter, because that's a great way for us to be able to keep in touch, and I can let you know about when the broadcast is going to be happening and what topics and things that we're going to be covering, so that you can keep an eye out for that as well. One last thing, the puppy diaries is available for anybody that has a puppy that is looking for some help and advice and guidance with a puppy. search for the Puppy Diaries, Elmsley Hot Toddy, and you will see lots of video clips, lots of photographs, lots of information that I post there, specifically about puppy raising, because it's such an important topic. I was just talking to my behaviourist friend Rosie Biscoby this morning via Facebook Messenger, and we were talking about a statistic that she had found that 1 in 5 puppies that enter somebody's home, they are not with the dog, they are not with their owners by the time they're 3 years old, and that just makes me really, really sad. Sorry, I think I may have said that wrong. 1 in 5 are still with their owners, but that means that 4 of them are not. So you know what, that just makes me really, really sad, and that's why I've put together the online puppy course, in order that, you know, if you can't get to a class, don't panic, but you do need some help and advice training your puppy, because it, you know, we all need help. We all need ideas about how to go about it, and don't struggle in silence, because really there's no need. There's lots of good information available to you. Right then, I'm going to leave it there, because I've got to go and get my dogs some dog food so they can have some tea. Otherwise, they will not be very amused with their mother. So I'm going to leave it there for today. Really nice to see you all again this in this new year, and I look forward to seeing you next Friday for our next Friday Fisher Fix. Okay, take care. Bye bye.